What if the most terrifying creature in God of War Ragnarok isn't what we think it is? What if the wolf bound in chains beneath Midgard carries secrets that could rewrite everything we know about Norse mythology within the game's universe? Welcome back to Myth Mode, the channel where we dig deeper into gaming's most profound mysteries and untangle the mythological threads that bind entire universes together. Today, we're tackling one of the most compelling enigmas lurking in the shadows of Ragnarok Angrboda's wolf. Most players assumed they understood this creature's purpose. It's a monster, right? A beast born from the giantess Angrboda, destined to consume the world. But what if I told you that this isn't the complete picture? What if, buried beneath layers of Norse mythology, game lore, and deliberate narrative misdirection, Sony Santa Monica has hidden an identity so shocking that it fundamentally changes how we understand Angrboda, Kratos, and the entire trajectory of their story? Stick with us as we pull back the veil and explore the theories that mainstream gaming media refuses to touch. We're going to examine forgotten dialogue, analyze symbolic imagery, connect obscure lore threads, and challenge everything you thought you knew about one of gaming's most mysterious entities. This is Myth Mode. Let's begin. To understand Angrboda's wolf, we first need to understand the woman who birthed it, Angrboda herself. In traditional Norse mythology, Angrboda, whose name means Herald of Sorrow, is a giantess of immense power and foreboding presence. She's the mother of Fenrir, the world-devouring wolf, Jörmungandr, the serpent that encircles Midgard, and Loki's third child, Hel, who rules over the realm of the dead. She's essentially the cosmic matriarch of Apocalypse. But in God of War Ragnarok, Angrboda is portrayed differently. She is presented as a figure of tragic depth, someone with agency, wisdom, and a complicated relationship with Kratos and Atreus. She's not simply the harbinger of doom, she's a survivor, a protector, and a keeper of ancient secrets. When we first encounter her in the game, she's guarding something. That something manifests as a wolf. But this isn't just any creature. This wolf exhibits characteristics that should make us question its true nature. For one, it possesses an unusual intelligence, a cunning that seems almost human. It communicates through means beyond mere animal instinct. It understands strategy, anticipation, and consequence. Here's where it gets interesting. Throughout Ragnarok, there are subtle hints that this wolf is more than a simple beast. The creature moves with purpose, as if aware of a larger design. It protects Angrboda. It tests Kratos and Atreus. It appears at pivotal narrative moments, as if responding to unspoken commands or cosmic predestination. Some players even report that the wolf seems to hesitate before certain actions, as if weighing moral consequences like a sentient being would. In Norse mythology, Fenrir is described as bound by chains until Ragnarok, the end times. But what if, in the context of God of War's narrative, Fenrir isn't just a monster bound by chains? What if the chains are metaphorical? What if they represent a forced limitation placed upon something far more complex than we're being shown? Consider this. What if Angrboda's wolf is actually Angrboda herself in a different form? Not as a separate creature, but as a manifestation, a shadow self, a darker expression of her power and will. Throughout the game, we see Angrboda commune with nature in ways that feel primal and almost shamanic. She summons forces, she manipulates the environment, and she demonstrates power over the wild itself. What if the wolf represents her ability to channel those forces into a more concentrated, physical form? This theory gains traction when we examine the game's treatment of transformation and dual nature. Throughout the God of War franchise, we've seen that Norse mythology often presents beings with multiple aspects. Loki himself embodies duality, male and female, helpful and destructive, wise and chaotic. Odin possesses ravens that serve as his eyes and ears across the 9 realms. Why couldn't Angrboda possess a wolf as an extension of her consciousness and will? But there's another layer to this mystery that most players and even critics have overlooked entirely. What if the wolf isn't just an extension of Angrboda, but something even more profound? What if it's a conduit, a vessel for something that exists between the worlds? In Norse mythology, there exists a complex belief system about fate, prophecy, and destiny. The concept of word, often called the Norns domain, suggests that the future is woven into existence, that events are predetermined by forces beyond mortal comprehension. In God of War's interpretation, this concept is reimagined through the lens of time manipulation and the blurring of causality. Mimir, the all-knowing head, frequently speaks of timelines, prophecies, and chains of fate that bind all beings to predetermined outcomes. If Mimir is the keeper of knowledge, then what if Angrboda's wolf represents something on the other side of that equation? What if it's the manifestation of anti-fate? A being specifically designed to represent the possibility of breaking free from predetermined destiny. This interpretation aligns perfectly with one of Ragnarok's central themes, the struggle against predestination. Throughout the game, Kratos constantly fights against the notion that his path is written, that his actions are already determined by prophecy. The entire narrative arc of the game is essentially Kratos attempting to rewrite fate itself, to prove that free will exists even in a universe seemingly bound by cosmic decree. What if Angrboda's wolf is the physical embodiment of that struggle? What if it represents the aspect of creation and destiny that cannot be controlled, cannot be predicted, and cannot be bound? This would explain why the creature appears so intelligent, so purposeful, yet ultimately so mysterious. It's not constrained by the rules that govern other beings because it exists partially outside the normal framework of causality. Before we go any deeper into the evidence that supports this theory, we need your help. If you're enjoying this investigation into God of War's hidden mythological layers, consider subscribing to Myth Mode. We release deep lore analyses, mythology breakdowns, and gaming mysteries every week. By subscribing, you'll never miss an episode, and you'll join a community of thousands of players who are just as obsessed with uncovering gaming's greatest secrets as we are. And if this video has sparked theories of your own, and I'm certain it has, hit that like button. It helps us reach more viewers who are hungry for this kind of content, and it signals to us that you want more videos exploring the mysteries of your favorite games. Now, let's continue the investigation. Let's talk about the evidence. If we're going to propose that Angrboda's wolf is something far more complex than a simple beast, we need to examine the clues the game has given us. First, consider the wolf's behavior during key narrative moments. There's a particular sequence where the wolf acts in a way that seems strategically calculated to teach Atreus a lesson, not to harm him, but to challenge him, to force him to confront his own potential darkness. A simple beast would act on instinct or aggression. This wolf acts with intentionality that suggests understanding, wisdom, and purpose. Second, examine the visual symbolism. The wolf is often depicted in proximity to Angrboda, but it's also frequently shown in moments of profound quiet, moments where it seems almost contemplative. When the camera lingers on the creature, there's a weight to those moments that goes beyond the typical monster threat framing. It's as if the developers are asking us to look closer, to see beyond the surface appearance. Third, and most critically, listen to the dialogue. When Angrboda speaks about the wolf, she doesn't use the language of ownership or control. She doesn't say my pet or my beast. Instead, she speaks of the wolf with a kind of respect, almost reverence. She speaks of it as though communicating with something that has agency and wisdom. There are moments where she seems to consult with the wolf, where her hand touches its head and her eyes close, as if drawing strength or wisdom from the creature. Furthermore, consider the mythological parallels. In actual Norse mythology, there is a concept called hamrammer, the ability to change one's shape. This isn't simply transformation, it's a fundamental spiritual ability that allows beings to move between different forms of existence. What if Angrboda's wolf represents her hamrammer, her spiritual form, her power of transformation made manifest? The Velva, Norse seers and women of profound magical ability, were known to possess this kind of power. They could shift consciousness between forms, could communicate with spirits, and could move between worlds. Angrboda is portrayed as someone who possesses ancient knowledge and connection to primal forces. The wolf could be her ultimate expression of that shamanic power. Here's where we start connecting the threads into a larger tapestry. The most compelling theory suggests that Angrboda's wolf isn't just one thing, it's simultaneously multiple things existing in layers of meaning. On the surface level, it's a wolf. It's a creature with physical presence that can be encountered, that follows predictable animal behavior in certain situations. On the mythological level, it's potentially Fenrir, the world-eating wolf of prophecy. But here's the crucial twist. In the God of War universe, the prophecies aren't fixed. They're more like templates, possibilities that can be averted or redirected. So while the wolf carries the essence of Fenrir, it may not be bound to Fenrir's destructive fate. On the spiritual level, it's an extension of Angrboda, a manifestation of her will, power, and wisdom. It represents her connection to the wild, her ability to command nature and primordial force. But on perhaps the deepest level, it represents something more abstract, the concept of purpose without predestination. The wolf exists to fulfill a role, to embody an archetype, but it's not enslaved to that role. It's a being with agency, capable of choosing its path even within a universe governed by fate. This theory is supported by one of the game's most underrated themes, the idea of inheritance and choice. Throughout Ragnarok, we see characters grappling with destinies that were handed to them by their parentage or by prophecy. Atreus struggles with his nature as both god and giant. Kratos fights against his curse. The game consistently asks the question, do we become what we're destined to be, or do we have the power to choose something different? Angrboda's wolf might be the answer to that question given physical form. It's a being that embodies a prophecy, that carries the weight of mythological destiny, and yet exists as something capable of its own choices. It's neither fully enslaved to fate, nor fully free from it. It's caught in that liminal space, perhaps representing the possibility of reconciliation between destiny and free will. Now, let's explore some hidden connections that most players completely miss. There are subtle visual cues throughout the game that suggest a deeper relationship between the wolf and Atreus. When Atreus is at his most unstable, when he's closest to embracing his darker nature, as Loki, the wolf appears. It's as if the creature is drawn to this conflict, this internal struggle between destiny and choice. Could it be that the wolf recognizes in Atreus the same struggle it embodies? Could the wolf be trying to communicate something to the young god about the nature of his path and his potential? There's also an interesting parallel between the wolf and Kratos himself. Just as the wolf is trapped between being a destined mythological creature and a potentially free agent, Kratos is trapped between his role as the destroyer of gods and his desire to be something more, a father, a protector, a force for balance rather than chaos. The two exist in a kind of mirror relationship, each grappling with destiny from opposite sides. Furthermore, consider the role of Angrboda as mediator. She stands between the world of giants and the world of gods, between past cycles of destruction and the hope of a new future. She's attempting to create something new, a different kind of existence that breaks the cycle. The wolf, as her manifestation, would logically represent her efforts to embody this vision. It's not a tool of destruction, it's a symbol of her refusal to be solely defined by her role as the mother of apocalypse. If this analysis is blowing your mind, imagine what we're going to explore next week. We've got videos analyzing the deeper meaning behind Odin's ravens, breaking down the symbolism of the World Tree across all God of War games, and investigating whether certain characters we thought were dead might actually be manipulating events from beyond death. Make sure you're subscribed to Myth Mode so you don't miss a single video. And please, like this video and leave a comment with your theories. What do you think Angrboda's wolf truly is? Do you have alternative interpretations? The Myth Mode community thrives on discussion and debate, and we read every single comment you leave. Now, let's finish strong. So what is the true identity of Angrboda's wolf? After examining the evidence, exploring the theories, and connecting the mythological threads, here's what we believe to be the most likely truth. Angrboda's wolf is a being that exists in 4 simultaneous states of being. It is Fenrir, the prophesied destroyer, but a Fenrir that has achieved consciousness of its own nature and chosen to exist differently. It is an extension of Angrboda's will and power, her spiritual manifestation in physical form. It is a representation of the possibility to transcend fate, to exist as something beyond the boundaries drawn by destiny. And it is a mirror, a reflection for other characters to confront their own struggles between free will and predetermined path. But perhaps, most importantly, the wolf represents something that God of War has been exploring since the very beginning, the idea that even in a universe governed by prophecy and fate, choice remains possible. Even the most destined creature, even something born to embody apocalypse itself, can choose something different. It can choose wisdom over destruction. It can choose companionship over isolation. It can choose to exist on its own terms rather than being defined solely by what it was born to be. This is what makes Angrboda's wolf so fascinating. It's not just a monster or a pet. It's not just a mythological creature or a game mechanic. It's a philosophical statement embedded in the narrative, a physical manifestation of one of the game's core themes. When we look at the wolf through this lens, certain moments in the game take on entirely new meaning. Every interaction between the creature and the characters becomes laden with deeper significance. The wolf isn't hunting or attacking, it's testing, teaching, and perhaps even protecting in its own mysterious way. And this brings us to perhaps the most mind-bending possibility. What if the wolf knew all along what Kratos and Atreus were going to do? What if it's been guiding them, subtly steering them towards specific choices? Not through coercion, but through presenting them with challenges and choices that force them to evolve, to question their destinies, to become something more than what prophecy had written for them. The mystery of Angrboda's wolf might never be completely solved by the developers. Santa Monica might be content to leave this creature as a deliberately ambiguous presence. Something that means different things to different players. Something that works on multiple levels of interpretation simultaneously. And in some ways, that's perfect. Because the wolf's true nature is less important than what it represents, the possibility of transcendence, the power of choice, the refusal to be bound by the narratives written for us. This is what we do here at Myth Mode. We dig deeper. We look beyond the surface. We ask questions that the mainstream gaming media refuses to touch. We find the hidden mythology woven into our favorite games, and we help you understand the incredible depth of storytelling that developers like Santa Monica are crafting. If you've enjoyed this journey into the mysteries of God of War Ragnarok, if you're hungry for more deep dives into gaming lore and mythological meaning, then you know what to do. Subscribe to Myth Mode. Join our community of mythology enthusiasts, lore investigators, and players who refuse to accept simple answers when complex mysteries are available. Leave a comment below with your own theories about Angrboda's wolf. Tell us what you think its true identity might be. Tell us how this video changed your understanding of the game. Engage with us and with each other, because that's where the real investigation happens. And if you want to support Myth Mode directly, check out our Patreon and Discord community linked in the description below. Become part of something special, a community dedicated to understanding the deepest layers of meaning in gaming's greatest stories. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Thank you for being part of Myth Mode. We'll see you in the next video, where we'll continue to uncover the secrets that gaming's most complex narratives are hiding in plain sight. Until then, keep questioning, keep investigating, and keep reaching for the truth. This has been Myth Mode. We'll see you next time.